What's good, friends list? Episode 13 of the Gamecast coming at you today. As always, it's our bi-weekly party chat episode where we take all of the biggest and buzzworthy topics in the gaming landscape from you, the listener, and talk it all out. This week, we discuss esports culture and its effects on the overall gaming populace, along with dormant game franchises we'd love to see come back, elements of our favorite and least favorite games that we'd change in a heartbeat, and much, much more. Plus, we have all the details regarding the Epic Game Store exclusivity deal with Remedy and 505's newest hit title, Control, and man, is that number not small. All this and more coming up on the Game Pass Gamecast.
Now the fun begins.
Richard.
Stop! You violated the law.
What is good, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Game Pass Gamecast. As always, I am your host, Travis White, aka Traveless, on most internet platforms. I am joined today, back in action with the dynamic duo, our trio, including me, of course, Mike Peapack, Adam Marsh. Adam, what's good? What's going on? And, as always, what have you been playing?
Good to see you guys again. I have been playing some Link's Awakening
Hell
on
yeah,
the Switch.
you have been, man.
So I just finished up the third dungeon. I think it's called Key Cave or something like that. I'm really Key Cavern, yeah.
Yep.
I didn't notice until I started playing this remake that every dungeon is like shaped in the name of it, or like it's shaped like the name of the dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Like the bottle grotto is like a little pot.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Because like in the original Zelda, they also had a bunch of different shapes. There was one that looked like a swastika, one that looked like a dragon. There were some other weird shapes. I don't know.
Yeah, things that probably wouldn't hold up in, 2019 necessarily, but hey, artistic approaches,
Whatever, man.
Hey, go ahead.
But yeah, I've been really enjoying that. And there was something else. What's on my Steam right now? Oh, I've been playing Receiver again. I don't know if you've heard of this game.
Mm-mm.
It's it's a first-person shooter that was made in a short time, and then they went back and like polished it and kind of touched it up. Recently, they converted everything from like an older version of Unity, so there's like less stutter and stuff. But essentially, you're walking around this dreamlike sort of rooftop sequence, and you have a gun in your hand. It's either a Glock, an M1911, or a revolver, and you have very detailed controls. Like you have to press. There's a key press to eject the magazine, and then there's a key press to add bullets to the magazine. There's a key press to take bullets out. You have to rack the slide. You have to like physically check the chamber to see if you have a round in and chamber one if not. And if you like pull the rack back all the way when you have one in, you'll pop a round out and you have to pick it up.
See,
So
that's cool. Like, I love little touches like that. We're even getting to a point in gaming where, like, so many realistic approaches like that, even from, like, the physics of it all. Like, that's just so, like, it's little touches like that that you see how far we've evolved. Like, this medium in general has evolved. Like, I just love whenever you see things like that.
So yeah, I'd highly recommend checking that out if you get a chance.
Is that in early access still, or
No,
is it just a full release?
It's a full release. They just
What'd they bring it to? You said it was from an old version of Unity. Is it like an Unreal now, or is it still in Unity?
It's still in Unity. They just
okay.
updated the version. It's on Steam, on PC. You might be able to get it on other platforms, but I don't know.
Gotcha.
I don't think it would work on a console controller just because there's so many different keys you have to hit.
I've been seeing too. You didn't mention it, but I've been seeing a lot more people, friends of mine and whatnot on Twitter. I've been seeing them play Remnant. Is that what it's called?
Oh, From the Ashes?
Yes. I saw a lot of people actually playing that now, which was kind of cool because when we came over to record as a group, a couple weeks ago, that was the first time I had seen that game. First time I've heard of it, whatnot. But then I'm seeing, Shinobi on Twitter, who I interact with a lot. He's playing it. I see a couple of dudes I went to college with who are playing it, who are now getting into PC gaming and are playing that. I've seen a couple people actually, it's on Xbox as well, playing it on Xbox One X. Like, it's pretty cool. And a lot of people kind of bringing up the, same points that we have that, damn, that game gets tough. Like, it is very Dark Souls-esque. Like, So it's cool that, I don't know if you're playing it still anymore, or if you've touched it at all, but
Not for a while.
It's cool seeing people now, actually, you kind of bringing that up, being the first touchstone that I have with it, to now turn around and saying, oh shit, there's a bunch of people I know actually playing this game and saying good things about it.
Yeah,
So,
it seemed to get a good spread.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might revisit it sometime. It's definitely way more fun with friends.
Yeah. Well, how much was it, just out of curiosity?
I think it was 30 to 45. I don't think it was full 60.
Okay.
I know that much.
I was gonna say, yeah. From what I've seen of it and whatnot, I don't know if I jump in at 60. That seems like a perfect game to pick up on a Steam sale for like $20.
Yeah.
Like that's what I probably be my jumping in point. But let's kick it over to our other co-host, as always, Mike P-Pack. Now that AC is done and over with, we're already an episode past that now. I'm curious. What are you playing? You playing more Gears 5? You playing more Halo? You playing? I know we've been talking about. You've been talking about wanting to get into the Arkham series as well, or at least dive back into it. Which we got big news about that. I want to touch on in a little bit, which we might even piggyback off that. But what have you been playing, man?
For me, it's just basically been a steady diet of Gears. Took a little hiatus from Halo, but I put it back in on Sunday. I played for a little bit on Sunday morning. I played some Halo. Just got back into hardcore a little bit. Other than that, I've just been playing Ninja Gaiden off stream a little bit. But now that I got my mic cord back, since I finally got returned back to Adams, and I'll get my mic cord back,
Right.
I'm gonna fire up the stream here pretty soon, and we're gonna dive into. It's almost Spooktober, so we'll be getting into that.
Hell yeah.
The Dead by Daylight Stranger Things expansion will be live, so I'll get into that because that looks like a lot of fun. And
now, just kind of going off of that, because that's a game that you and I will play for time to time, and we'll go on like binges with it where when that's our like multiplayer game, we'll play it for like 5-6 hours at a time, like get deep into it. Do you see yourself wanting to play Survivors more with that, or are you looking more to play as the Demogorgon?
I'm always Survivor because I feel like killing is just so easy. Like
True.
If you have a decent headset, obviously I haven't played in a while, but if you have a decent headset or whatever, and you're somewhat aware of video games and have any bit of game sense, you can essentially, like, I can sit there and grind with a Hillbilly or the Huntress. I can grind with no perks.
Yeah.
And I can probably get up to, like, 10 or 9 with no, like, I could just no perk up to, like, almost, like, rank 5 as a killer.
Oh, yeah.
But as a Survivor, you have to have 4 perks to even win against the easiest or like the worst killers, unless you're just like playing like a pansy and hiding the entire time. So I usually do play Survivor when I play that game. It's a lot more challenging to me, so that's why I play Survivor.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's times where I mix in Killer just because you can use the blood points you earn from Killer on your Survivor. So I'll just like
that's kind of how I would be too.
I'll just farm blood points as a Killer,
yeah,
because it's easy, and then use it on my Survivors to get the perks I want.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I'm leveling up Bill. I need to get my Bill up so I can get Die Hard. So like when you get hit and it's your last hit to knock you down, you can it's like 40 seconds or something where you'll get another bar of health where like you should have went down, but you have that 40 seconds where you can escape the killer and find someone to heal you.
Yeah.
And you can obviously you can be fine. And there's a cooldown on it, but the meta build I have is really early game, Dead by Daylight, with the self heal from Claire. What's her name? Not Claire. But anyway, I have like self heal. I have the sprint burst. I have adrenaline boot or adrenaline rush or adrenaline whenever the gates are opened at the end. You can like get a bar of health back, which is nice.
Yeah.
And I forget the other perk I use, but I have a really early build, so I'm just trying to get perks for, to get a little more relevant of a build for the game. But
no, for sure, yeah.
It's just a unique game. It's a lot easier to play with people. It's easier to play with your friends. Like, obviously, I'm very good at shooters because that's what I spend my time doing. Where you spend your time doing other things. So, like, it's kind of a nice little stopgap for us because while you're not the best at shooters, like, we can still enjoy shooters in a casual setting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But, like, when we get into competitive, I'm really highly ranked normally. And it's not that you're really low ranked, but I'm usually really highly
but the skill
ranked.
gap is there. Where this game you could step in. Yeah. Like, it's a game that, you Adam, Kyle, like that's something we could all jump in, play Survivor together against somebody. Yeah. So like it's one of those games, it's almost like Overwatch in a sense that there's so many different survivors that you could play that everybody has a role that they can fit. Granted, some may be a little more integral than others, but at the same time, Kyle could come into that and be like, I'm just going to worry about getting gens and totems or whatnot. Yeah. Like, you guys take care of, kind of rope-a-dope and killers and stuff like that. Like, so
that's like my specialty.
Yeah, turn on the Benny Hill song.
I have really bad times with huntresses because they're really easy to hit with the axe, or they're really easy to throw hatchets at you. Like, it's really easy for them to hit. But I usually can just give killers a rope-a-dope for quite a while you guys do your thing on the gens, and I'm just literally running them in circles, just using them.
On my end, I've been just like Adam playing Link's Awakening. Man, I've been looking forward to this game. I actually played it. I actually started the DX version of that on my 3DS, like right around this time last year, and it was one of those games that there's like 3 Zelda games I never really beat. Link to the Past, which I recently beat going into this because I was ready to play a Zelda game, and I was like, I don't want to wait 2 more weeks or whatever to play, or a week, whatever it may be, to, dive in. I'm going to play now that Super Nintendo games are on the Switch Online.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of, cheesed my way through that because you could do save states, and now they have the rewind feature. So it took me, like, 5 hours to be... Like, it was not that long. It was, like, 2 nights that I sat there and played it, like, with, like, kind of half paying attention. But, great game. So I beat that recently, but then Link's Awakening going into that. First time I played it, the DX version on my 3DS last year around this time, ended up it was one of those games where played it for, a couple days, put it down, came back to it maybe a month later. So, like, over a couple months' time of playing it just in kind of bite-sized chunks, ended up beating it, like, beginning of this year or something, during a lull, the gaming hangover that we usually see around, like, February to March. Excellent game. It's really great, and it holds up well, so I had a lot of high hopes for a living going into this. But it's such a great game, man. The remake, I truly love it. The only thing, obviously, that sticks out, I think, and, I'm sure, Adam, you can attest to this, being a PC gamer, the frame rate is kind of noticeable at times.
Yeah,
it chugs a little bit, but at the same time, too, I'll never knock Nintendo. This is the first time, really, that we've seen a technical kerfluffle with them, where it's like, noticeably the polish wasn't there in a certain aspect, but 99% of everything else is. So at the same time, like, and I really think it relies on, you notice how the outside borders of that game have that, like, film, the, like, motion blur almost at all points with that.
Yeah.
I think that's really what hinders it because of the art style they chose, which is really glossy, which is really fine-tuned. It's a high fidelity, but at a lower resolution.
Yeah.
Which is a great art style. I love it. But I think having that film and having to render that film at all times around there really hinders that frame rate. I think that's the big thing. Outside of that, too, like, whenever there's a lot of monsters on a screen at once, it does chug. But noticeably, it seems like when you're starting to enter areas that have a lot of greenery and things around it, that film has to chug around. But, I'm not going to knock them for that because they went balls deep, full commit to that art style. And if that's their vision for that game, that's their vision for that game, so I'm not going to, like, change it.
Yeah, I think it's working a treat, and I would be really excited to see, like, the Oracle games get remade in that same style. Because they were made by Capcom, but they were kind of in the same style as the original Link's Awakening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like to see that, and even, too, you bouncing off Capcom, Minish Cap. Another game I've never played, that I've heard nothing but great things about, being a Capcom game. So I'd love to see Grizzo take a shot at those two. I mean, they have, if you ask me, for a developer, almost like Bluepoint, like, they're a developer that just, it seems like strictly just handles big name remakes. Like, if you ask me, it's one of those full faith things. It's almost like the Naughty Dog effect. Like, we're recording on Monday this week. We're getting Last of Us 2 information tomorrow. I'm so fucking excited about that. It's blind faith with that. I don't care what they show. I'm going to buy that day one because I just blind faith with it. Like, I know what they're putting out is a good product. That's almost like Grezzo, and 99% of what Nintendo does, really. So, but that's what I've been playing. That's kind of all that we've been playing, but we're here to talk about Party Chat. As always, our bi-weekly episode that we put out where we're talking and taking your questions, topics, everything like that. Before we get into that, though, as always, we've got a little housekeeping. We're talking our Game Pass giveaway, man. I'm hoping to give this away. Do you like Xbox Game Pass? Chances are pretty high that you do if you're listening to the show, but I'll give you a good reason to stick with us, listening to us, because I know it isn't for my voice. Because we're going to give away a free 3-month subscription to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to one lucky listener, and that's the Ultimate Edition. That's PC and console. There's some good stuff coming out that we announced last week while I was editing in post about that. So, good stuff coming to that. So, you want to know how to win? Trick question, because I'm going to tell you anyway. So, head on over to our Twitter account, @GPGC Podcast, and just do the following. Retweet the pinned tweet on our profile about the contest, and follow our Twitter account. Boom. That's it. Easy enough, right? A link to the tweet will also be found in the description of wherever you get this episode. So, clicking on that link will direct you right to it. So, head on over to @GPGC Podcast and enter today. So,
That's it, you cowards. Just do it.
yeah.
Just do it already.
Just do it, jabroni! So, before we get into it, as always, I'd like to pull up a little news article, kind of stay with the, current zeitgeist of gaming right now. So, this actually dropped today. So, this is a fresh news take. At least on our end. By the time you guys get this, it probably won't be old news. But hey, that's the news cycle, baby. So Epic paid the makers of Control a $10.5 million advance for exclusivity. If I could spit that the fuck out. This comes via Kotaku. A report outlining Control developer Remedy Entertainment's deal with Epic grants a clearer picture into the money and percentages that draw in high-profile games. A financial report from Digital Bros via GamesDaily.biz indicates that Remedy and publisher 505 Games got a deal of 9.49 million euros in bringing the game to the Epic Games Store.
It's a lot of Chad.
Yeah, that's 10.49 mil, so 10.5 really if we're, rounding up. But,
No.
which was the divided between the two parties, with 505 taking 45% of that total and the larger sum of 55% going to Remedy. This deal was part of a larger exchange between 505 Games and Epic that will also see the upcoming science fiction exploration game Journey to the Savage Planet, which I totally forgot was coming out. That game looks awesome. Released exclusively on the Epic Games Store. The 9.49 million euro number has been reported as a deal for Control's exclusivity, but that payment is not merely a cash sum paid in exchange for the rights to sell the game. It is an advance on future sales revenue. This payment ensures that developers are making a lump sum right away, rather than waiting for money to dribble in as copies of the game are sold. Said security and upfront payment might make releasing games on the Epic Games Store more appealing, particularly for developers of independent games, like Hades developer Supergiant Games or Ooblets designer Gumberland. Both of those games initially released exclusively on the Epic Games Store, although Hades will be available on Steam starting in December. So make sure, we're going to, as always, put that link in the description of the show. Go over there, give Kotaku a link, and make sure they get a view on that. Usually, since I read a large chunk of this, a lot of that was information I didn't want to leave out. So we haven't really talked about on the show, on Party Chat, really. Hasn't come up, really, our thoughts on the whole PC storefront war, I guess. Especially, Adam, you being somebody who really is at the forefront of making sure that independent games and independent developers specifically, come to the forefront and get actual, you make noise about games. You always want to see small developers and independent projects actually get, the shine they deserve. So I just kind of want to get everyone's opinion, since we haven't really talked about it, on, what's everyone's take on the ongoing Epic Games Store exclusivity drama? Do you guys, think having exclusivity on a newer platform is going against the ideology of PC gaming, like, not being tied to a platform overall, unlocked frame rates, customizations, the freedom that comes with PC gaming, even if it means developers getting more money to developers, even up front. Because a lot of developers that you hear, like Ooblets, came out, Gumberland, came out and said, like, they put a post up saying, hey, we took this deal because, it secures our families that they have food on their table for the next 5 years. Like, we don't have to worry about that. Even if we put a game out or not, we're secure having, like, we have freedom now. We have a little bit of job security. So, I'm just curious what you guys think. Adam, I think you should kind of run with this one a little bit because you're kind of in the know on a lot of this stuff.
I have my finger to the pulse of a couple of game developers, both independent and in the AAA. And the prevailing notion seems to be that, like, you don't really sacrifice much by going into an exclusive deal with Epic. Now, that's, like, fewer platforms that your game might be released on, sure, but
because correct me if I'm wrong, Epic's take is much smaller than Steam's, right?
It is.
It's like 15% less, right, or something crazy.
Steam takes 33% off the top of your sales as a normal developer, and the larger your outfit is, the lower that number is. So it's kind of a rich get richer situation.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
I think Epic takes 15%, maybe.
I know it's it's a small double-digit number, as far as I remember.
And what you're getting for that 15% is you're getting onto a curated platform. Like, games are accepted to Epic on a, like, very case-by-case basis. Whereas with Steam, they have a formal submission process, and they have so many games on there that, like, really what you need is some kind of engine to, like, drive recommendations. Right now, that's all algorithmic. And a lot of devs... if you see them complaining on Twitter, it's probably about something that Valve did to, like, kill their discovery or their recommendation numbers. There's a lot you have to worry about if Steam is your primary platform about, like, you know we have to get wish lists and we have to be careful about the sales that we run to strike a balance between, like, enticing in new customers and also not racing to the bottom and destroying the value of your game so that it never makes any sales during off sales times. Exclusive just seems like it offers a lot of security for not a lot of drawbacks. You as a consumer, you have to download another launcher, and the launcher isn't...
Yeah, but the footprint's so small with that.
What do you mean?
Like, the footprint for another launcher, like... It's not like, realistically, because this is kind of my take on it, just because you're kind of touching on some similar points. You know, I wrote an article for a publication earlier this year, kind of about this, whenever first the Epic Game Store was kind of first being launched and whatnot, or late at the end of last year, something like that, when I first started talking about it, or when I first wrote the piece. But from a consumer standpoint, if I'm a PC gamer, and I'm a fan of Valve services, and more importantly, if I'm a fan of Valve's games and the software they offer, I see this as nothing but good in the sense of, one, the games that I like, if they're going to Epic Game Store, one, especially if it's a small developer, because a lot of PC gamers do kind of go, they're playing a lot of independent games. Comparative, now with the Switch, that's kind of making that more of a household thing to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, PC gamers have their finger on the pulse much more with independent games because it's so much easier to get games out there on PC.
Right.
So, my thing, though, was... For once, you have... It's almost like the second... It was almost like, at least initially, it looked as almost the second coming of a Steam. In the sense that, right, it didn't have all the bells and whistles that Steam does now. Cloud saves and, you know, different friends list options, communication options, things like that.
Yeah.
But it was almost set up initially how Steam was, where it was kind of Trojan horsed onto your computer because it was launched with Half-Life 2. You had to play... If you wanted to play Half-Life 2, you had to install Steam.
Yeah.
If you want to play Fortnite, you have to have the Epic Games Launcher on PC. So, Epic Game Store is a PC-only thing. It's not on PlayStation. It's not on Xbox right now.
Right.
It is on PC.
Even games with exclusivity deals get on consoles.
Right. But at the same time, like, if we're talking PC... Fortnite is, granted, now maybe not as big as it was, you know, a year ago, but it's still one of the, if not, you know, it's in the top 3 biggest games in the world. It's a pop culture icon and it's cemented forever as a pop culture icon anymore. So to play that on PC, which is one of the biggest platforms that it has, you have to have the Epic Game Store, which only means that that's going to now put pressure on Valve. At the end of the day, if you want Valve to start making more games, guess what? You gotta have some competition. They haven't had fucking competition since fucking Nom. Like,
Right.
Really. They haven't. So, the fact that, and granted, Valve does still make games. They still do technically make games. Artifact's a fucking game, if you want to call it that. But, like, and they bought, Campo Santos, the Firewatch team.
Okay, I didn't know
And they're
that.
putting out, what is it, in the Valley of the Gods, which is I believe that is Campo Santos that's putting that out. So they do have games that are coming out,
right?
But it's not how it was before. Whenever they were pumping out Portals, they were pumping out Team Fortresses. They were pumping out
after the Orange Box was finished, after Counter-Strike Global Offensive was finished, and after Dota 2 was finished. Like, they kind of just went into milk it mode.
I mean, yeah.
Even look at Blizzard. Blizzard has still, granted, a lot of people have been like, oh, they've kind of been, lackadaisical isn't necessarily the right word, but they funneled all of their resources into only a few proproperties.
Lackadaisical is the right word for it. They bought Activision.
Yeah.
They've just been sitting
on
their
Activision bought them.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Like, Activision buys Blizzard, and now Blizzard's just been, like, sitting on their ass because I don't know.
Well, they just haven't had the pressure.
Like, when's WC3 Remastered coming out? They don't even have a fucking date yet.
And the whole Doom Immortal, debacle last year, and Doom 4, Diablo Immortal, I'm sorry, I'm thinking Doom Eternal.
You guys got phones, right?
Yeah, bro, that's how do you, everyone knows that Diablo 4 is coming out. All the leaks, it's just one of those things that...
And can they do it right? Can they just make it Diablo 2, but a little better with a new story?
Yeah.
Like, that's all anybody wanted.
I like Diablo 3. You guys like Diablo 3.
It's okay.
It was
but it's not bad. But if you got more of that content, at least trending in a better direction.
No.
So if something worse came out, you'd be like, man, I would at least take a Diablo 3.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm not asking for mediocre, being mediocre, but I'm just asking for
Blizzard was in an almost impossible spot, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but Blizzard was almost an impossible spot in the year, after 2001, 2002 they have StarCraft on the market, and it is just slaughtering everything. RTS wise, they have Diablo 2 in the year 2000 and 2001 come out. They have Warcraft 3 come out. They released 3 games that are so spectacular that need updates weren't that easy to push out because everyone had really shitty internet then. So these games are A, very good right out of the box. B, they have B-Net, which is groundbreaking at the time. You could talk to someone who was on StarCraft from Diablo 2 or Warcraft 3. It was just really cool how you could talk to anyone across any game and these public channels that you could join. And Blizzard was in a really tough spot, and they come out with StarCraft 2, and it was okay, but people still were playing Brood War over playing StarCraft 2, which, Brood War was an incredible game, and I can't blame anyone. It's awesome, and it's fun, but, that sucks as a dev when, nobody wants to leave your old game because it's better. They released Diablo 3, and there's still a heavy, heavy player base on, not as heavy as it was back in 02 and 03 and 04, but there's still plenty of people that are playing Diablo 2. Now, there's a lot of bots doing runs for gear and things of that nature, but there's still a lot of people that still put in time to Diablo 2, me being one of them when they update the ladders and they redo the ladders, and I'll make a sorceress and get to level 88 or 89 in the first few days, and I'll be on the leaderboard for having the most experience for I'll be the 15th player in the world in sorceresses in terms of XP for a week, and then the bots will catch up and everyone will be level 99. But it's still cool to see my name up there. And with Warcraft 3, and Reign of Chaos and Frozen Throne, they had such good RTSs and they had such a good RPG game in Diablo that the only way for them I felt was down, and we saw it with StarCraft 2 and Warcraft and Diablo 3. Like you said, the games weren't bad. If they were your first games in the series, you wouldn't know any better.
Right.
But being a legacy fan, it just doesn't do it for me. And then World of Warcraft, they're coming out with Warcraft 3. They've been taking pre-orders since fucking February. And they're taking people's it's $30 or whatever, but they're just taking people's money and there's no release date. Nobody fucking knows.
Right.
Everyone knows it's happening, right? But they were just yeah, pre-order the game and get something cool. Okay. I gave you $30 in March. It's September and I don't know what day this is.
Dude, I remember, this is really quick, and I promise we'll circle this back into Epic Game Store, but you saying the pre-order, I remember I fucking pre-ordered ESO on Xbox One.
Yeah.
When it first was announced, because I was this is an Elder Scrolls game. It's online, like, and it's on a console. I'm like, I'm in. Like, 100%, I'm in. I remember I pre-ordered it, and that was not the Tamriel Unlimited. That wasn't the repackaging of it. It was the verbatim vanilla, like, what launched on PC day and date originally. They took pre-orders on it. Literally, it was like 2.5 years. Like, I finally went in to buy something else, and the guy was just like, oh, yeah, we see that there's still, for some reason, a pre-order on for ESO, and it's been canceled. I'm like, yeah, I know. He was like, do you want to just put it on something else, or do you just want your $5 back? Like, and the guy was cool about it, you know. Yeah. But like, and I still pre-order a lot of stuff. But
on Blizzard's store, you have to pay the whole thing off.
Yeah, it's
so
not
you
like
have to buy, you have to buy the full product,
or a Best Buy or whatever. You know,
which like sure, whatever. Like if you like, Blizzard's a healthy dev. It's not a situation with Ice Pick with a Pathologic who like if you were to give them if like 300 gamers were to pre-order their next game for $50, like it might keep the lights on for another month. You know what I mean? Like they might be able to pay the office rent for another month for them to continue making the game, right? But with a dev like Blizzard, it's just fucking straight.
Right? They have the Scrooge McDuck.
It's like a crime, bro. Like you're taking people's 30 and not letting them know when it's coming out. But you know, with Call of Duty being only on Blizzard now because Activision bought Blizzard and Blizzard has their game launcher. And obviously, Blizzard has some exclusives, but they let you chain it through Steam if you really want. But we saw it with Blizzard starting, and now Epic, you know, piggybacking. And like you said, you know, I'm just going to bring this all the way back to the original topic. With Blizzard, you know, trying to put out some decent games. Now, these aren't life-threatening to Valve games because they're different genres and they're different, but... You know, they tried to come out with Heroes of the Storm, which was terrible, but they were trying to push back on Dota and League, which, okay.
They were trying to get into the MOBA scene. Yeah.
Right. But for me, which, by the way, Heroes of the Storm was a horrible game, but their heroes and everything were so much more personable because I've been playing them since I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know,
you had that attachment to them.
Arthas, Jim Raynor, Kerrigan, you know, you had so many of the old,
and I'll never get over.
And Jaina Proudmoore was it? Like you had all these people from these older games.
And I'll never get over the Blizzard art style that they have that poppy colors and the like. Yeah. It's like blocky, but not. It's like still polished. Yeah, like from a Warcraft and perspective and a StarCraft perspective, but at the same time, like I just love that almost universal art style that they have across everything.
And as a Warcraft fan, like I was a huge Warcraft 3 fan. I spent a lot of time on Reign of Chaos and. I was ranked in the top 200 in the world in 2v2 arranged teams. Just
not a big deal.
Just throwing it out there. No big deal. But as a Reign of Chaos fan and as a TFT fan, it was a little different. You had to get a different flavor for it. But, you know, we've been waiting for a new Warcraft, and they just keep... Here's another World of Warcraft. Here's World of Warcraft Vanilla. Like, we didn't even say World of Warcraft Vanilla was coming back before Warcraft 3. Like, Warcraft 3 was coming out, and then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're doing WoW Vanilla again. And I'm like... Okay, but give me Warcraft 3, like, cool. Yeah. And then they're just like, nope, here's Vanilla, bitch.
They cut in line.
I'm like, fuck. And now it, like...
So what do you think about the Epic Game Store? Like, do you think, just kind of circling it back to the question, because
I think like you said, I think it's good because it might push Valve to get off their ass and do something about new games. But at the end of the day, I agree with Adam's sentiment that, like, with the way that people just, like, play CSGO no matter what. They play Dota 2 no matter what. And they're just like, why has like Team Fortress 3 not come out? Right? Like, why has CSGO 2 or whatever?
There's no need.
There's no need for them. They're just sitting on their ass.
I mean, the machines unstoppable.
And then they come out and they say that their market economy that they made with all the skins, they came out and said, well, we didn't mean for this to happen. You made in-game loot, you made in-game loot that drops, like crates that drop. Then you made them have a monetary value because you knew making HAL M4A4s fucking rare as shit and nice, rare as shit, was gonna mean that they were gonna go for a shit ton on the Steam Marketplace. And you weren't mad when you were getting your cut, but all of a sudden this CS I forget the skin system that I used to pay on and pay for, but like I bought my knife off of there. And all of a sudden, Steam doesn't get their cut. Now, all of a sudden, we're cutting out all these things. So, I think that Epic pushing back against Steam is only going to be good, or against Valve is going to be great for the people like me who, like, I just quit playing CSGO because they weren't fixing enough shit fast enough, and I knew they had the money, and I know they have the resources. Just fucking fix the game.
They're just seeking rent. They are landlords on their own.
They're
systems.
very cocky too. Like on their website, like they full on say like we don't take interns because we don't need to. Like, and it's like,
is that them or was that Face Punch?
No, that's Valve.
Okay.
Like I actually saw it the other day because I was applying for a couple different like industry jobs that kind of fit my skill set with event management and whatnot like that, and I just was like looking at different companies. And I was like, oh, I'll click on Valve, like not really wanting to work there, but like looking at what they had and you know their different like ideologies for their company. They were like very like bullish and very like they were very just cocky.
They're weird. They have this weird like horizontal hierarchy where like there's not a strict like reporting structure, but there is.
Yeah. And like sometimes I follow Adam Apicella, who was the MOG event planner since forever, by the way, and he released a job listing. And just because you were talking about getting a job in the industry, briefly, I just want to ask you, like, how big of a joke is it that these companies want you to have like 15 years of high-profile event planning to event plan for someone?
Oh, I know. I applied for, full disclosure, like, I don't really care. Like, at the end of the day, if I have a job, I'm not. I don't have a job and I'm desperately I'm looking to maybe transition out of an entertainment industry into another sector of an entertainment industry. But like I applied for 2 different jobs with Bethesda and one being kind of closer to my level that I bring, but another one being lower and putting more of my eggs in that basket of being lower because one, I'm transitioning out of one sector of an industry into another that I don't have a ton of specific, industry. But I have a skill set that fits that mold very easily at a higher level. But like knowing that because of what you're saying, like
this company, like it might have been fucking Blizzard. They wanted you to have 15 fucking years of experience. Like
you should be retiring by that
point. Who the
point.
fuck has that much event planning experience? Yeah. If you're 50 years old and you have 15 years of event planning experience, bro, go get a fucking CEO job or something.
Yeah, and 90% of boomers aren't going to get into the gaming industry.
Are you kidding me?
Like right off the bat, like wanting to come in. Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you 12 years old and you're planning the wiffle ball game in your backyard and that's experience? Like this is a thing that I'm sure everyone that listens to this podcast experiences. Like when you're looking for a new job and you're looking at like job descriptions and what's required of you, it's like, why? Why do I need 35 years of experience in this industry?
It's crazy.
I love seeing ads for like software engineering jobs. You see shit like this passed around every once in a while. Like the guy who invented Node.js, which is just like a version of JavaScript essentially. He found a listing that was like, oh, you need to have this much experience in Node to work with us. And he's like, I invented this 5 years ago. You want us to have 7 years of experience?
Yeah, it's like, what in the hell? And with Epic, although they're on my shit list because they canceled Unreal Tournament and they're not really finishing it, whatever it was, it is, which, like, I'm a huge UT fan.
Right.
But I think that they're just kind of searching for footing to push back against Valve.
Yeah.
And, like, you guys kind of touched on Adam's opinion, like, that's the best. That's the best for everybody.
Competition only helps.
Yeah.
Competition's only a good thing.
We're not a communist country. We're capitalist, whether people like it or not. But capitalism in this case can be positive because it can really breed some really, good things. Now, there's negative sides and positive sides to everything. But I think this kind of competition is amazing for the gamer because it's going to force people to make better things.
Yeah.
No, definitely. So,
and it's also just like it's good that developers are getting some security, some upfront funding. Like it's a miracle that a lot of games get made.
Oh,
yeah,
100%,
seriously.
Seriously.
And a lot of developers are selling themselves short, and they're like, "Oh, we need to set our price point at this low setting, and
just to get that barrier of entry so easy for people to get in."
Yeah, when in reality, they're worth a lot more than they're valuing
100%.
themselves at, and it's a miracle that games get made sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I totally agree, bud. So, let's transition into our main segment now at the, 39-minute mark? No, but I love conversations like that. We haven't had one of those in a while based on a news topic.
I feel like we had a really good...
No, absolutely.
We had a good go around.
I love talking about that stuff. So let's head into party chat. If you're new to the show, this is our segment where we take gaming topics, questions from you, the listener, where you can help mold the content that you get on this show. And we like talking to you, taking your questions, topics, whatever.
Yeah, we get bored of talking to each other.
Exactly. I just hate everyone, so, I hate life. So, anyways, let's get into the first one here. First submission comes from Jonah H. Jonah, thank you for writing in, listening, sharing, all that jazz, and being a part of this community. So, Jonah says, if you could change one element, this could be gameplay, story, mechanics, whatever, of an existing game, both either one you hate or love, what game would it be, and what would you change? So, little hypothetical here, What are you guys thinking?
We usually get these questions. We get these questions a little bit ahead of time to try to prepare an answer.
I usually like to have them in like a day in advance, so that I could give everyone to have some kind of like. I want it to be still from the hip, like natural, but at the same time, at least you're in the right mindset.
I read this question earlier, and It's a tough question to answer, but it's a good question because it's like a good kind of tough. Mm-hmm. For me, when you're talking about gameplay and story mechanics, etc., goddamn. For me, it always goes back to shooting games normally. But shoot, could this go back to a classic game like an old
absolutely
game?
This is any game, man. And as always, we can kind of dovetail off these and kind of mold it to what we think would be good for discussion as always. But the base of the question, yes, it's completely open. You can choose classic, modern, whatever, man.
I think the gameplay, mechanics, everything of Fable 3 was very good. The story was a little bit of an issue for me because at a time when all the games of that like genre of the RPG genre at that point in time were going open world, I still felt very bottlenecked into what they wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like the studio might not have died and the game might have been a lot more successful if they just embraced the open world nature of it.
Yeah.
And they could have still bottlenecked you towards certain things, but by and large let you go out and do whatever else. And almost
to the extent of like Bethesda games where you get set out once you get set out into the open world, you're expanded. It kind of opens up horizontally,
right?
Where it's
and there's
like
a main quest,
right? Where you can go and do whatever. You can formulate your character, whatever. But then it funnels you back into the main quest at one point. So
yeah, and to me, that's fine. And in Fable 3, you could still go out and do other things that you wanted to do. Don't get me wrong, but it just felt like there was no consequence or there was no benefit of actually doing that. Like in the Bethesda games, when it's open world, you can go out and you can join up with the Fighters Guild or the Mages Guild and do these quests, get cool items first and foremost. You can get gold, which you can buy other items with. Just get all this experience of the world that is enjoyable. And by all intents and purposes, Lionheart Studios was doing a good job of creating a world that was enjoyable to go around and do things. But they just were too focused on you doing their main story, and they didn't give you enough, they didn't give you wings to go out and, they had a great mindset, and they had such a great world.
They had a good skeleton.
And they had a really good art style. Yeah. They had and good voice acting, and all these other things were going well for them, but they just didn't embrace the times, and I feel like if that game was released back in, the 90s, it would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But when it was released, everything was so open world, and it wasn't don't get me wrong, Team Ninja over at Ninja Gaiden, they didn't give you any lateral movement. It was you were only doing the storyline. But when you bought Ninja Gaiden, you didn't think it was an RPG open world game.
No.
It was 100%. Just you know what I mean? I consider it an RPG in a way, but it's also a little hack and slashy. But with Fable, they kind of always touted this RPG feeling, but they never really gave you the open world that anybody really enjoyed. So that's probably the game and the changes I would make is just let you kind of make side quests, let you go join a thief gang or something, or go join the guard and fight the thief gang. Do things like that. Just kind of mix it up, not just
loosen the belt up a little bit.
Not just drone on doing the same old same.
No, 100%. You ask me, first thing I think of if you're saying story elements. I mean, we're an Xbox based show most times. Halo 2's ending. When I'm thinking story, granted, it capped it off well. It did give an ending, but it was such a hard ending. It was such an abrupt ending that I think the lead up to that ending, if they would have positioned the story a little bit better, I think more people would have been like, okay. And it's kind of not that, we talked about last week in our Gears 5 review, the Gears 5 campaign kind of ended in a similar way, but nowhere near as abrupt. It just, it told the story it wanted to tell. it had a huge climactic moment, but then really right after it just like almost ended to the point where it very much felt like there was another little story beat they could have hit on. But point being, the Halo, in terms of my classic at least, Halo 2 really sticks out to me in terms of like a story element that I would change. A lot of the games that like classic wise that I do like that have, gone back and seen re-releases of and remasters and stuff, like I know they changed in Wind Waker, they changed the Triforce segment where you're going to looking. They made that much more streamlined.
Yeah.
It chopped, 2 hours or 3 hours off your gameplay time. Things like that. Same with like, and maybe just because I have Zelda on the mind right now with Link's Awakening, but with the gyro mechanics in Ocarina of Time's remakes and stuff like that, like it just made it was so cumbersome with the single joystick and whatnot on them.
I think my answer is going to be related to control schemes as well.
So in a lot of it, from that extent, but story. If we're thinking story, that's Halo 2 is always one that sticks out to me. That like it very much was like ended abruptly.
Yeah.
I like personally, and even to an extent, like you just saying, like thinking out loud right now, like us mentioning Bethesda a little bit ago. I like Skyrim's main storyline for the most part. Like I thought it was
the main
good.
storyline
It wasn't bad. The main quest was pretty cool, but it almost to an extent like it wasn't. While it was bombastic, I felt like Oblivion's hit a little more harder. Like I think like the story, they landed the plane a little bit better. Where Skyrim did feel like abrupt. Like because I played through it when it came out on Switch. Oh Christ, like 2 years ago now. But when I completely played through it. No, actually, no. I played it through last year on Xbox.
Yeah.
And playing through it, it felt like it ended very abruptly from what I remembered. Like so,
well, me and Adam, when I got the collector's edition, we put like 40 or 45
in like a weekend.
hours in like 4 days.
Yeah.
We were putting in 10-hour days, and like after those 10-hour days for 4 days, we like didn't touch it ever again.
Oh, I know.
Like it was just
if we ever group played a game like an Elder Scrolls game. It was Oblivion or Morrowind. Like it wasn't. We never went back to Skyrim. Really, Adam, you and I have touched Skyrim again. You very much kind of distanced yourself from that game.
Yeah, and it doesn't. It's surprising to me, and you guys have told me because you guys have the heartbeat of the gaming industry a little more than I do. Because I'm in such weird sects where it's like I'm either hardcore into CS:GO competitive, I'm either hardcore into Halo competitive, or I just like playing competitive games. And the communities there are small. Well, not the CS one, but the other games that I play competitively are very small. Mm-hmm. And they're very toxic. And you guys kind of are general gamers, I guess I could just say. Like, just in general, you guys enjoy gaming, where I enjoy competing. But with the Bethesda games, I didn't think that we would be in the minority of enjoying Oblivion. But I've very much learned going through Elder Scrolls Reddit and just talking to other people that we're in the minority that enjoys Oblivion more than the other ones. Everyone seems to think that Skyrim was amazing, and that Oblivion was like hot dog water. To me, it's just like
dog water.
To me, it's just starfish.
To me, it's like, have you guys ever tasted hot dog water?
Yes.
It's fucking disgusting, right?
My God.
So like, evidently, like Skyrim being hot dog water is something that only us three feel because everyone else seems to love it. But I just think like you were saying, like everything about Oblivion, like. I get exactly what you're saying. Like, the towns, like, somehow the towns were smaller in Skyrim.
One day, I promise, there'll be one episode where we don't talk about Oblivion. Like, at least for, like, 2 seconds.
I don't know if we can promise that.
I don't know. That'll probably never happen. But
there'll be one episode, I'm sure.
But all the cities in Oblivion were much bigger than Skyrim. Everything in Oblivion just felt, like, different. Skyrim, they had the never-ending quests, but the problem with it was they would just get recycled. You would just go talk to a different townsfolk, and they'd basically tell you to do the same thing that someone else told you to do. Yeah. So you were just doing the same things over and over again, just stupid shit. Where Oblivion, I don't know. I agree with you, though. I know exactly what you're talking about with the Skyrim realm compared to the Oblivion realm. Like, the Dark Brotherhood was worse than Skyrim. Mm-hmm. The Fighters Guild, wasn't it non-existent? I can't even remember. I don't even think it was like...
There was the Companions, I think.
Yeah, it was non-existent. Like...
I mean, I've always liked the Nordic aesthetic of Skyrim. I don't want to say I like it more than Oblivion's European high fantasy, but at the same time, I still do like it. But
absolutely,
no. But I appreciate what you were saying there, Fred Durst. I really do. And a chocolate starfish and a hot dog flavored water.
I'll give my credit to Skyrim. I think Skyrim is hot dogs. Hot dog water.
But it's like the bar. It's like the Bar S brand of hot dogs, like the 99 cents a pack.
I'm gonna
that, like
save
you
a
wouldn't
lot.
even like that you wouldn't even feed to like your worst enemy. You'd be like, all right, I'm gonna get you some ballpark franks because you don't deserve that.
I'm gonna out myself here and say that I think the cheaper a hot dog is, the better it tastes.
So you like the 2-for-1 cheap hot dogs?
I haven't had that in a long time.
So, but you like
that was
the
the college-
you know what brand I'm talking about? The
high
Bar
school.
S.
I know those are the ones that I like.
Bar fucking ass.
Those are the ones that my dad gets.
I think my dad got this for a long time, and after I was like, "Come on, man!"
I think
like
I honestly think
fucking
all
ballparks.
I honestly think like an all beef hot dog doesn't taste that great. That's just me. But anyways, getting back on topic.
So you would think Skyrim's a ballpark franks,
Maybe
and
I don't know.
Oblivion's the Bar S's.
All I want to say is Skyrim is at least a hot dog. Two Worlds is hot dog water.
yeah, very
Okay,
true.
but,
Very
like-
true. Adam, let's hear
We're
what.
talking about in comparison with Elder Scrolls games.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the modern ones, which is... By the way, when we talk about Elder Scrolls games, we talk about post-Morrowind. So Morrowind and on.
I've
Yeah,
never played
Not the earlier
our-
ones.
more than 20 minutes of Daggerfall or Arena.
Yeah.
So, Adam, what's your opinion on Jonah's question here?
Jonah H., I have to say, my answer, as I mentioned to Travis earlier, is going to have to do with control schemes.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of this or if I've ever talked about this on this show, but there is a mod for GoldenEye.
For mouse and keyboard, right?
A mouse and keyboard mod. If you can legally emulate it on your personal computer using a ROM that you own.
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer.
You can play GoldenEye with a mouse and keyboard. And, like, I don't know if you remember playing with the old N64 controller, but it was kind of hot dog water.
Very much so.
But that game plays so effortlessly with keyboard and mouse. It's like a completely different game. And, like, I was able to play through it on 00 Agent on a way that seemed impossible because I felt like the game was fighting against me the entire time when I would play it on N64. Even as an adult, when I was like better at games, I was like, this is still, I still feel kind of hindered.
Cognitively, you were able to wrap your head at least around the controls much better.
At least I was like, oh, I know what I have to do in this mission not to fail. And
I actually have a friend who said something similar from college who at one point played an emulated version of the Metroid Prime trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
And did that with mouse and keyboard as well. And he was like, one, the game's great on controller by how it is because it's much easier to play by that point, a generation later. The first-person controls were much, much, much more optimized, I think, for the experience. But he was like, even then, it is awesome to play mouse and keyboard with that game.
I wouldn't doubt that any of those console FPS back in the early days, like GameCube,
very early 2000s, late 90s type.
Back before the twin stick aiming and walking control scheme was like solidified, whether that was because your controller didn't support it or that just like games didn't ship with that control scheme.
Right.
Any of those games, Time Splitters comes to mind, Perfect Dark comes to mind, and that did get an Xbox port, but like beautiful experience, so much better than I remember it. Like it ages up, it ages well. There are some issues with the frame rate and with the draw distance on PC because you can draw a lot further on PC.
Yeah.
But like stuff just doesn't load in as quickly as you can actually draw it. So you'll be drawing out into the distance and then there'll just be nothing. And then stuff will pop in as you get closer. So that's a little bit annoying, but like GoldenEye 64 is an amazing game with mouse and keyboard. And if I could go back,
You're talking about on Steam, like the
no,
you're
not
talking about on the
Source.
N64.
I forget if it was, I think it was 1964 is the name of the emulator. And there's a mod for the original 64 ROM that lets you do mouse and keyboard controls.
Yeah.
And like, it's amazing. It's good. I played through it all the way on 00 Agent, beat the whole thing. It's just amazing.
I'll have to check it out. Because I know 00 Agent, part of the issue with that game on 00 Agent was you had to shoot enemies so much, and their dying animations would just soak up bullets on the N64 because you had all that aim assist because it was just awful to aim right.
Yeah.
So the person in front of enemies would die, and there'd be like 4 enemies behind them, and they hit you like Mack trucks on Double Agent.
Right.
They could shoot you, you couldn't shoot them, and I bet you the mouse and keyboard would alleviate a lot of that because you could actually aim your gun.
You can do so much more like aiming and shooting, and also you can do a lot more. I guess what we would now call aiming down the sights, but like holding in.
Yeah, how it kind of
is it just like right click where
I think
it's
it's
like right
click.
right bumper thing?
Yeah.
It just zooms in a little
to bring
bit.
up the crosshair, and you can like free aim, whereas normally your stick was like moving and aiming.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Where if you want to dominate your dog shit buddies at GoldenEye N64 next time you play them, aim in with the right bumper, and just like you can aim like with your left hand and with the right hand as you're zooming in. Hold in C left and C right really fast, and you'll strafe really fast, and they won't be able to hit you.
There you go.
Just letting you guys know how to dominate your shitty friends that suck at the game.
Absolutely.
Because I dominate these two shit. I dominate these two shitbags every time we play.
Absolutely. It's abuse.
We've talked about this before, but like the license is so split up with GoldenEye that it's probably never going to get remade.
No.
But if I could have one thing
that game
to go
sucked
back
on the Xbox 360 remake. Remember,
I
bought it.
It was nothing like the original. It was just Call of Duty.
Yeah, it was like Call of Duty with like a little bit of 007 flavor.
They couldn't even preserve the story because
Yeah.
like it hit completely different beats. And there were different locations. It just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
So, no, definitely. That would be cool to eventually see.
Before
that.
you guys leave today, I might just show you like one level.
No,
That'd be
definitely.
sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. So, moving on to our next one. Thank you, though, Jonah, for that question. Next up, Harrison G here writes in, with the implementation of services like Apple Arcade, with games of a certain scale getting the traction they normally wouldn't, it makes me miss the Xbox Arcade of years past. Do you think Game Pass will do an adequate job of bringing games to the forefront in a way that Arcade did, or should Microsoft and the Xbox team explore an option like Apple Arcade specific to smaller indie and ID at Xbox titles?
Just so I understand.
Really specific topic. I like it, though. I think that's a really cool discussion point.
Just so I understand the question, we're talking about the Xbox Arcade where you could like download like Catan from it.
Yes.
In those
Yes,
board games.
those-
Okay.
Yes, the XBLA games
Yeah.
that were, even the like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game that you could download, Comic
And
Zone,
all
or
Mortal Kombats. I'll
Yes.
shed a tear because I can't fucking get them on my Xbox One.
Stuff that basically didn't have physical releases. They were the direct-to-DVD of Xbox.
yeah, basically. But titles even where you did see more indie titles come in that eventually evolved into ID at Xbox.
Yeah.
Like Aegis Wing, Hexic HD, those kinds of
Yeah.
games.
Small arms.
Yeah, just smaller projects that you did see,
Worms.
but it was these, the
Heavy
summer of
weapon.
arcades and things like that you saw during the 360 era that really did bolster, titles like that.
I was just talking to some of my coworkers about this. Apparently, along with that whole initiative, Microsoft put out an entire software framework called XNA
Mhm.
that was like supposed to be reusable and really easy to learn. And it was like this library they built up, so it was easy for indies to get into game development and make something that was like it could feature on the Xbox Live Arcade.
That's pretty dope.
I just learned about that, and like part of the reason that Unity and Unreal got pushed to where they are,
Mhm.
being like really accessible platforms, is because of XNA. Even though that's now been retired, it's kind of responsible for the landscape of games of game engines as we know it.
Nice little tidbit. The more you know.
We need that graphic, the like 80s graphic,
With
the
the
more
shooting
you know.
star.
Yeah. Yeah,
The more
exactly.
you know.
So what do you guys think? I mean, do you think
I
Game
miss
Pass
it.
will kind of carry that torch, or do you think maybe there needs to be something more like we see with Apple Arcade, where it's $5 you get in the door and it's standalone experiences, not the monetization bullshit that you see a lot of mobile titles have?
I know we're supposed to talk highly of the
Oh no,
Game Pass.
No, absolutely not. That's transparency. We will never lie to you. I'll never blow smoke up your ass. If something sucks, and we'll say it.
It's really
in an appropriate way.
The Xbox Game Pass is so good for the consumer. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
The Xbox Game Pass is legendary for the consumer. It is such a good way for consumers to get involved. Like, for instance, I probably wouldn't have bought Gears 5 because Gears Judgment Day sucked. Gears 4, meh. I would have never bought Gears 5, but I played it for $1 I actually played it for $2 because I upgraded to Game Pass Ultimate because I could play it 5 days early. So it's such a good value for the consumer. But I miss dearly the days of the Xbox Arcade because I didn't care to pay 1,600 Microsoft points for a game. at least that indie company got that from them. Now, obviously, I'm not 100% sure about the monetary details that these dev studios get to put their games straight to the
It's
Xbox
probably
system.
similar to, almost like a Netflix type deal.
Yeah.
Or, something like, kind of the Epic Games
Right.
exclusivity where they're getting this front payout, like, hey, we're
Yeah.
going to get this, almost like the games with gold,
Yeah.
PlayStation Plus free games. Like,
Right.
they're getting some kind of, upfront payment for them. And then after, hey, X amount of people download this game, you're
Yeah.
going to get
They're definitely
this
not getting
incentive.
paid directly by the consumer.
No,
they're
sure.
making money off the
No,
deal.
they're getting a check up front, and then
But-
there's incentives, I'm sure, down the line with
Yeah.
certain downloads. So
For sure, that's awesome, but I miss the Xbox Arcade because there were so many, just mindless fun games that you could just, pay 1,600 Microsoft points for. Sometimes they'd only be 800 Microsoft points, which was, $8. It was, what? It was, $7. It was, $8 for 800 Microsoft points and, 12 for 1,600 or something.
I think $20 was like 1,600, something
Okay.
like that.
So you'd pay $20 for this indie game, and you got, games like 3-on-3 Arcade.
I was just about to say,
from
it's
Xbox
3-on-3
Big.
arcade, baby.
I downloaded
Banana.
I downloaded the Mortal Kombat entire trilogy 1, 2, and 3. That you had this nice interface that you could just select which game you wanted to play, and they even had online multiplayer.
Mhm.
And me and Adam just jokingly named a few of these games where, these games would have never happened if it wasn't for the XNA, which I had no clue about until Adam just shared it. And I miss dearly the Xbox Live Arcade. And it's not that Game Pass, the Game Pass is bad. And I'm not saying that. I think it's bad for the game devs, but it's really good for the consumer. And it's not I don't think it's a direct passing of the torch from Xbox Live Arcade to the Game Pass. I think Game Pass is a step up because you're getting full it feels like you're getting full AAA games.
yeah. And
Where
at
you're
the
not
same
getting
time,
these little indie hey,
you
us
are
three-
getting indie titles, but
us three in the
No,
year
I-
2009 might have put out a game that would go onto the Xbox Live Arcade,
right.
but we cannot. We just don't. A, we don't have the resources, and B, we don't have
It
the
felt-
time to
Yeah.
do a game that would go to Xbox Game Pass.
They felt like single to double A experiences, if I could put it in those terms. It was
but
something
it was
like-
still fun.
Yeah, it was like playing Plants vs Zombies co-op on 360.
It was fun.
some of the most fun I've ever had.
Yeah. And even the board games, they would put Risk and Monopoly. It was just a fun
Yes.
time because you could play Risk with 6 people in the same household, and you didn't have to set up the board. And the
You
pieces.
have Uno.
No, but it's and I agree. I think it's much more. I think it's much more positive than what you make it sound to be for a dev. Because I'm sure,
Yeah,
I'm sure they
it's
wouldn't.
still good. For
Let's put it
them.
this way: I'm sure they're smart enough. I would hope that they wouldn't pursue something that they know is going to be a bad deal at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Just to get their game out. Now, but at the same time, sure, maybe it's one guaranteed money I'm sure they're getting right
Yeah.
up front. But at the same time, too,
But
the exposure they get is probably what they're more
Yeah.
hey, that's worth more to us down the line because at least now, millions of people,
Have played Blair
millions
Witch.
of users
Yeah.
now know, game studios like, what's his name from That Makes Games with Celeste.
Okay, yeah.
So
yeah.
because I think Celeste is now on Game Pass, if I remember correctly. I know it was with Games with Gold,
Yeah.
so it was given out, and I'm sure similar format with payment for it. But millions of people now know that studio from that
Yeah.
game because they're playing it for such a low barrier of entry,
yeah.
even free. So
I mean, obviously, like you said, it's probably front loaded. So Xbox is going to pay you X amount of dollars to put your game on their service, but you're just going to get less of the sales, right?
right.
I just really enjoyed the little like Adam said, single A, double A, just the little campy enjoyment you got out of those Xbox Live Arcade games.
I totally agree.
So I think it's better. It's probably better than Xbox Live Arcade for a gamer because you're getting these full games.
and the
But
reach
li-
it has.
But like I said, it was super fun, and I do miss it. If they could
Yeah.
do the same thing, like Xbox Live Arcade and Game Pass, we'd
Mhm.
really be living in the best time in universe.
No, I definitely agree. So I definitely think Game Pass will do an adequate job. I just don't think it'll necessarily. I think there should be another option for indie titles specifically. ID at Xbox does a great job with getting those games onto their platform and getting the word out from out about these titles. Especially because a lot of granted, a lot of indie titles do come to Xbox, but right now in the zeitgeist of gaming, when you think indie title, you think Switch or PC. really. I mean, at the end of the day, people do play indie titles on their PS4 or their Xbox. But once again, we kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier. The PC is always going to be first and foremost for these indie titles that people are going to go to. But now, Switch has self-marketed itself. While, hey, this is where you're going to get the most polished games from one of the, the lineage of Nintendo. But at the same time, this is the indie machine. This is the little portable indie machine that you could take with you and play all these games because they're now starting to become a deep user base with this that you can kind of go into. But no, I think Game Pass will do an adequate job, but I would like to see something maybe more tailored for indie games just because of how much in the zeitgeist indie games are becoming and more consumer, more upfront or more accessible with consumers. Consumers know more about them. They're being talked about more and more so. But thank you, Harrison, for that question. I like that one. That's one that's very topical with our platform being GPGC. So moving along, up next comes from Marshall Connect.
Where's not Spider-Man 16?
I know, right?
He didn't write in this.
I was surprised. He took the week off, I guess.
What the hell, dude?
So
next week, write in, bitch.
Yeah. What's good, GPGC? What dormant franchise in gaming do you most want to see brought back? It could be a cult classic that was a niche product, or it could be something that is well known.
Can I get a new Elder Scrolls?
Yeah.
Can I get a E.T. for the Atari 2600?
Go to the landfill.
Dig up the grave.
Grave digger! Won't you dig my grave? So, if you ask me, one that when I first read this, just I think because it was in so many people's, it's always brought up.
Conker's Her Day.
No, but in the Nintendo realm, yes, that would be cool. But F-Zero, where the
Holy
fuck
shit!
Where the fuck is F-Zero
That's a
been?
good point.
GameCube.
That's
is
the
last.
forgotten series.
F-Zero. What was it called for GameCube? But that was the last main F-Zero title on a home console. I mean, where the fuck's F-Zero been?
Go play Flight Simulator.
I'll say,
but that's such a fun racer. It was always a good palate cleanser from Mario Kart, which was very everybody.
Everybody wins.
I always joke with especially my fiance about it. When she always wants to play Mario Kart, I'm always just like, oh yeah, let's play Communist Kart, baby. Everybody on same page. So but it was always a good palate cleanser because it was such a fast-paced game that you got punished if you fucked up. There was no, if you messed up, you're done. You're in last place, and unless you're really smart, you can't get back. There's no items that are going to get you right back into first place, or a roll of the dice that'll help you. You got to actually focus on where you're going and whatnot.
Do you guys remember the speed bike racing game that we had on N64? It was completely off-brand. I don't think it belonged to any big franchise.
It wasn't Excite Bike, was it?
No, it wasn't Excite Bike. It was this futuristic. You were just this weird triangle shaped thing.
Wipeout?
Wipeout!
Yeah, Wipeout's come on, baby. Come on, baby. That's the only. Don't ask me how. It's one of those fucking weird things that you're like, why the fuck do I remember that?
Why do you remember one of the kids we went to high school with's MySpace song from the year 2007?
Exactly. But I can't remember I can remember that Far Away by Nickelback was on some girl's MySpace, but I can't remember.
Yeah, because you were always on her MySpace.
Probably.
Trying to see if you made the top 8.
I mean, I'm just saying shout out to my fiance after that comment. So, but anyways, no, but it's one of those things that why the fuck do I remember that shit? But anyways, yeah, F-Zero, it's always brought up that I can't see that necessarily coming back. At this point,
F-Zero?
It will eventually, but I mean, eventually Nintendo's going to have to go to the well on something.
It might have to reinvent itself a little bit.
But even that, not to the extent of Star Fox with Star Fox Adventures.
That's the next question too.
But at the same time, Captain Falcon is now just, I think, at this point, for most,
Smash character.
is known for Smash now. He's not known for F-Zero anymore.
Right.
Kids who probably came in and started playing Smash
all they know Captain Falcon for is the Falcon Punch, baby. That's
right,
it.
but
Falcon Punch!
it's probably the kids who, their initial gaming experiences was on the Wii or something like that, on Brawl or whatnot.
Yeah.
That's their zeitgeist.
Who the
Is knowing
fuck bought the Wii?
150 million people, I think.
A lot of boys.
I can't
But-
believe people like. I can't believe 150 million people bought the fucking Wii.
Someone on my Facebook was just asking if anyone had a Wii lying around that they could use. So, like, apparently there's still demand.
No.
What? What do you
I-
want to do? Go play Call of Duty 3 with the little fucking gun and just like not do anything?
Let me
you
throw
not?
this. Let me throw this out to you guys. I just want to get your gut reactions on this. The final Wii game, original, not Wii U, actual like 2006 released Wii. The final Wii game to come out is this year, Just Dance 2020, and that's the final one. They don't produce Wiis anymore, but they're releasing that game. Just Dance has always been the game that has still come out for the Wii.
There's some business or there's some organizations that still use them, right?
What?
Like that's why they're still releasing a Wii game, right? Isn't it like hospitals or
I'm
nursing
sure.
homes or
I'm sure.
something?
Hell, if you look on, I forget who was saying it. Like Mario Kart Wii, like still is one of the best-selling games.
I don't
every
I
year.
don't have any words. This is why I'm not involved with the general gaming population because you guys are fucking weird.
It does get weird. There's weird shit like
Time
this.
to move on. But hey,
when I saw the control, like the first time I ever saw the controller for the Wii, I was like, "What the fuck are you doing, bud? Like, what are you doing?"
hey,
Who the
after
fuck got pissed drunk and was like, "This is a good idea"?
hey man, that's just Nintendo being Nintendo, especially after like
That's
kind
why
of
I won't buy the Switch. I need one so bad. I love every game that's on the Switch, but I just won't fucking do it because you're just so dumb.
literally they coming off of the GameCube and
The
being
final
like,
straw was the A button where the B button
yeah,
should
true.
be. I can't take it anymore.
But like. I mean, coming off the GameCube and kind of getting their dicks kicked in a little bit. Realistically, like
It was bad.
sales-wise,
I believe Donkey's latest video, he said, "We're doing this now with the Wii," and then it was just left to Sony and Microsoft to
Right.
do the whole console war
that
thing.
it's just, so they just said, fuck it, we're going to try something different, and we're going to market, hey, we're the first video game console that is fucking fully motion control. And the gamble worked out for them. It was in every home. It was in at grandma's
a
house.
financial
it wasn't in
success.
everyone's
Yeah.
fucking home. Wasn't in this my home.
No.
Maybe not.
But it was at your girlfriend's
Heel
house.
turn.
It was at your girlfriend's grandma's house. It was at my grandma's house. It was at my aunt's house. It was at everybody's house because it was so accessible for people to do.
I had
So-
to fucking play Wii bowling.
But what games would you guys want to see
bring
come
it back
back?
into before we move on to
I have a short and sweet answer, so
Go ahead.
continue
Why don't you go ahead?
I know I joke that the Elder Scrolls series is dormant, but Todd Howard, will you just please put a good Elder Scrolls game out? Please, very pretty please. And no, for real, Team Ninja, reform and please make a new Ninja Gaiden.
I mean, Team Ninja's still a thing. Are you talking like the Ninja Gaiden team?
Yes.
Okay.
Just please, we know Ninja Gaiden 3 wasn't your best stuff. Take the lump like a champ and come back out and release a good game, please. That's
what are they working on now?
Team Ninja just put out Ultimate Alliance 3.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Cool. Continue.
I'm gonna be honest. I thought that was a GameCube game when they first announced it.
Really?
It looks like a GameCube game.
Yeah, it's dog
Which is-
shit, and
which
it's
is-
not Ninja Gaiden, and nobody cares. Continue.
I would love to see a new Ninja Gaiden game, to be quite honest. Like, they lost it with 3. I've never played Sigma, but I've heard that it was a really good black port. To have them go back to that,
The
or,
Ninja Gaiden Reddit is a small niche community, but it seems
Shout out
like
to them too. They showed us some love on that
They did.
episode that we put out on Ninja.
they
Gaiden.
did, and they're a small niche group. And if you're into Ninja Gaiden, please go over there and hit up that Reddit because it's pretty cool. But everyone says that like while Sigma was a decent port, if you didn't have Xbox, like if you were a Ninja Gaiden fan and you didn't have Xbox, you were missing out because Black was so good, 2 was so good. But continue.
Where was I? Oh, before I move on to my answer, I just wanted to point out to Travis that even though Captain Falcon might be considered now to be more of a Smash character than an F-Zero character, Marth and Roy featured in Super Smash Bros. Melee, and there had never been a Fire Emblem game made in North America.
That wasn't out. That wasn't a thing in North America.
They never got
yet.
released in NA until their Melee appearances, and people are like, "Oh, these are just like, what are these guys from? They're just Smash
they just
characters."
threw in like Link clones, like
Yeah,
the
and
sword
then
fighters.
the next year, Rekken no Ken got released on the Game Boy Advance in North America, and ever since, Fire Emblem has been a hit. And until recently, their last console game, Fire Emblem's last console game, was on the GameCube, and that was
I thought they had a Wii one.
Oh, okay, you're right. It was Path of Radiance was on the GameCube, and then Radiant Dawn was on the Wii. I keep forgetting that those are.
I've never really been a Fire Emblem guy. Not that I think it's a bad game series. I've just never dove in. I want to try Three Houses eventually.
I didn't get into it until like long after it was released.
You played Awakening, right?
But yeah, that was the first game I actually sat down.
I remember
and
you
played.
praising that to me, saying like, "Yo, you should probably check this out."
Awakening was gonna be like the last one they made. They were like, "All right, we're gonna retire the franchise. Let's just do whatever we want," and it was wildly successful. And they were like, "Guess we got to keep making these."
Yeah.
And then they made a couple more games that were okay. Fates was whatever. Shadows of Valentia was a good remake of an older NES game that had never originally seen release in North America. And then, obviously, Three Houses is gangbusters.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe there's hope for Captain Falcon to come back around.
Speaking of Control, and then I promise I'll let you get into this, from earlier and kind of bring this around. Fire Emblem, physically, sold more than Control.
Really?
A third party. Fire Emblem sold, like, it was in the top 10 MPD or something like that, or top 5.
Of physical cartridges sold?
Of physical cartridges, because they don't count digital.
Right.
But at the same time, Control's a triple, well, yeah, I would consider it AAA. It's a AAA, product that's put out, but it's also a multi-platform.
Yeah.
It's on PC, Xbox, and PS4. So, like, it just surprised me whenever I heard that I'm like, wow, just physically only, Fire Emblem sold better on the Switch. For North America, we're talking North America.
Yeah.
Like, Control is a very much European North America game.
Yeah.
Where Fire Emblem is very much Japanese, like...
Yeah, Japan first.
Yeah, the anime aesthetic with it and whatnot. But go ahead. I just thought that was interesting.
I don't even remember what my answer was for this question.
I said Ninja.
Marshall Connect.
You saw straight heart eye emoji when I said Ninja Gaiden.
I love Ninja Gaiden. I should go back and play Black. Let's see.
It's on the Game Pass.
It is on the
Sure.
Game Pass. I think next week is a pay week. Maybe I'll finally get that Xbox.
There you go.
I've been having scares with my PC, though. This is like, we can cut this if you want, but like, I think I need to either replace my cooling solution or just like clean all the dust out of it, because I've been running hot, and I think that's why my games run so slow. I've been like dropping frames just playing League on the lowest graphics. So
Yeah, I mean, you could probably reapply thermal paste.
I might do that too.
Yeah,
I did
that
that
would
once with
probably
TJ like several summers ago. I bet you it was that.
Believe it or not, that shit actually helps if you reapply thermal paste.
I bet
Good
you-
thermal paste,
Yeah.
not like shit can thermal paste.
It's like, is Arctic Silver 5 good? Like, that's the one you see on Amazon for like $5 to $7.
I think so.
Like,
Okay.
As long as you don't get like completely generic brand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I had a
Thermal
generic
paste isn't expensive.
like my gaming PC that I bought.
It's like
the,
$9.
The dude had a like generic ass like power supply in it,
Uh-huh.
and that's why my PC was crashing all the time. Went and bought a Corsair one. It's been perfect since.
Yeah.
And that's why I'll never like go cheap on like stuff like that, like actual
Yeah.
composed. And I put thermal paste as an actual like integral part, because if you get shitty stuff, it could fuck up your processor. Like
It has been, let's see, I would have been either a sophomore or a junior in college. So it would have been like 3 or 4 years.
And you budget built this computer when you first built it anyway.
It's pretty piecemeal. Like at
Yeah.
this point, I have like a GPU that my friend gave me that got installed like a month or two
I was
ago.
gonna say, yeah, that's recent. I thought you had.
What kind of graphics card is it?
I think it's a 960, 980. Let me look real quick.
970.
Oh yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, then it's a 970. Yeah, because
Yeah, 970. That's only 2 generations ago. That's
Yeah.
still.
I
pretty-
moved up from a 660 before that.
I was gonna say because before I got a 1060, I had a 770.
It's
Yeah,
a GTX
it's a
980.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, so
So what game?
holy shit, bringing it back around.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't had a lot of time to think about this because we've been talking about all kinds of it. Let me just pop into my Steam library and see if there's anything in there that I would like to see
Dormant
come
franchise.
back.
Well, we'll be here.
I
all
can't
night.
wait to see this fucking library first and foremost. Jesus Christ.
It's
Oh my
pretty
God.
wide. Oh, I actually did think of this earlier. Another Age of Empires game, please. Stop remake. Well, keep remaking them. They're good remakes. The remasters.
But like
You're talking
an
about
original,
AOE4 or something. Yeah.
give
like
me.
a new mainline entry.
I remember playing Age of Empires 3 around the time it came out because my friend Dennis got it,
Yeah.
and I thought it was good. Like, it didn't seem similar to Age of Empires 2. it had a lot of decisions that kind of forked off in a different direction. It wasn't bad. And coming back to it several years later, playing it again, I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
I would like for them to take another pass at the formula and say, okay, we're going to come back to the classic RTS, like resources and build queues and stuff like that. Modernize it, but like don't overthink it. I've played some modern RTS that I think are just like way too streamlined, that they take all of the strategic depth out of it. And like, I don't know. I don't consider StarCraft 2 to be a modern RTS. I think it was kind of last generation.
Yeah.
I always feel like most game devs that would want to make an RTS, like Blizzard has had a chokehold on it for so long. It's like, how the fuck do you crack that?
How do you crack the Warcraft-StarCraft duopoly?
And people still play Brood War too. Like, how do you crack into that? You know?
That's wild to think of.
But yeah, AoE 4.
It would be,
and Microsoft has been very vocal about AoE as a franchise over the last like 2 years, I'd say, year and a half or so. Like, that gives me hope that
getting Definitive Edition first for AoE Gold, like the first one with the expansions, and then the continual support for AoE 2 that has culminated in another Definitive Edition.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good chance we might be seeing more.
Once you get hit with a definitive version of AoE 3 before they come out with a new one.
That'd be fine. You know what? It's fine. Like, it was a decent game. Tell me who it is.
But yeah, I can see that happening.
I would like to see a more, honestly, casual and laid-back RTS type of game, because when I played AoE back in the day, I was like, oh, I'm gonna build a pretty base, and there's gonna be walls here, and there's the housing
basically
district.
Me with AoE 2 when we play. I'm like, oh, this looks nice, and you and your brother are just like, no, just do this.
Give me an almost roller coaster tycoon-esque experience in an RTS, where it's just very zen. It's just like, it's more expressive than competitive.
Or give us a new roller coaster tycoon.
Or give me more roller coaster tycoon.
For fuck's sake, just make it like the classic.
Yeah. Not this like, oh, you get to ride the roller coaster. Fuck, I'm sitting there watching like a simulation of it. I don't want to fucking watch that.
Speaking of, I might go home and stream that and get drunk to stream.
RCT1?
Yeah.
Dude, I'd watch.
It's on classic.
As long as, just please open up a pit and put a mascot in there just for me.
Always.
Yeah.
Pandas are running parade.
Alright, so we had a couple more questions to cover here, but, I think we're getting a little long in the tooth right now. Let's kick those to next party chat. I'll save those two. Promise we'll get to them. Those are from Hank T and Proper Dose 12. I promise we'll get to your questions next time. They're awesome questions. I just think we're going to go really long if we do, because they're really good questions. I'd love to talk about them. But, Mike, you actually have a discussion topic you wanted to bring. So
I do.
Let's hear it, man. I'll hand the host reins over to you, buddy.
It's hard for me to nail down a specific clean question, so I'll just ask it. You guys have been around me all your life, and you guys have, I've been involved with playing video games competitively since, as far as I can remember. And whether I was, actually competing, I just always wanted to be the best at everything.
Yeah.
As casual gamers, and I don't mean this as, from a competitive gamer, I don't mean it as, I feel pretty
casuals type thing. I feel pretty safe saying this, that Adam and I are much more... We paint with a broader brush.
Yeah.
You're much more... This is your line of gaming. For the 99% of it is...
I just get on and play the multiplayer. If the game doesn't have multiplayer, I don't want to hear it.
We're much more... We dip our toes...
We're not as esports.
Yeah, we dip our toes in a wide variety of different
I don't even like using the term esports. I prefer to call it competitive gaming.
Okay.
But everybody calls it esports. It's pretty commonplace at this point.
Yeah.
You guys being casual players, how do you feel... This will be... I might be able to add on to this question depending on your first answers.
Okay.
How do you guys visualize, and what do you guys think about esports in general as a culture? You guys see videos of it. You guys might watch it every now and then. You guys know a competitor that is very passionate about it. How do you guys feel about it? Is it a good thing for gaming? Is it a bad thing? Does it give gaming a good name or a bad name? Just in general, how do you feel about esports?
You mind if I run with this one?
And not any genre, not RTS or fighting gamers or FPS gamers. Overall esports, how do you feel about it?
So, and I'm pretty transparent about it. I work in college athletics from an event management standpoint. And we're at the point now. people come to me all the time about work because they know I'm a hardcore gamer. I'm a gaming enthusiast. I own every console. I'm, a pretty hefty gaming PC. Like, they very much know that my passion is gaming.
Yeah.
Like, so, and they know I'm in tune with esports from more of a, not fan perspective, but I'm not good at esports games. Like, I'm okay. Like, I can handle my own, but I've never dove in and said, like, the most I've done is outside of, like, Halo 2, Halo 3, in terms of actually sinking hours into a comp game. CSGO, I have, like, 130 hours lifetime. Not that much, like, scratching the surface. And, like, Siege, I have, like, maybe 90 hours, something like that. Not that much, like, overall. So, but from somebody who looks at it and who definitely has a vested interest in eventually getting into esports, with my having 2 degrees in sports and event management, I definitely want to enter that avenue, and we actually have had conversations of bringing esports into the collegiate level with us to drive student enrollment, because we're down right now. So, to me, if you ask me, I think esports does nothing but, because I think we can all say we're advocates for gaming in general, in terms of opening a light on gaming as not only a viable entertainment medium, but also something that from an esports perspective takes very much is, if you ask me, physically nobody's out there getting swole to go and click a mouse a little bit faster, but to a degree.
Let me just tell you, the listener out there, not Travis, just keep a pen right on your thought. There's been a huge increase in the attention spent on personal fitness for gaming, especially in the Counter-Strike
100%.
Global Offensive realm, because these gamers at tournaments, they're putting in so many hours in tournament play where you're in high-stress situations. There's a lot of attention being put on physical fitness, because not only do you have to be fit to play in these high-intensity situations for such a length of time, like, think about it, if a Counter-Strike game goes into double, triple overtime, all of a sudden you're playing it 3 hours straight.
You need some physical endurance.
The highest level of CS there is. But even if you're sitting there practicing for 10, 11 hours a day, 12 hours a day like these guys are, you have to be in some type of shape or your back's going to go out of place. You're going to get in sound body, sound mind type thing, but continue. Yeah, absolutely.
No, absolutely.
But you're not getting hit by 300-pound men running at 15 mile an hour.
No, but, I put, granted, I don't have any scientific backing on this or whatever, saying this, but, it's similar to, look at a Major League Baseball player. Mm-hmm. You can't, we say it is like, oh, steroids, you take steroids, you could hit the ball farther, but you can't hit a curveball. You need the practice, you need the eye, you need the hand-eye coordination, you need all those things, the practice to go into hitting a Major League curveball, like to get to that point. So I put the same emphasis on, same with, golfers. Mm-hmm. You need that practice that, the regimen that goes into it, it's all, transferable and adaptive to the certain situation. So esports is no different than any other professional sport. So, but point being, how I was saying, we're all advocates for gaming as not only an entertainment medium, a viable one, but also a professional level of, look at the money that's going into esports. You can't ignore it. But, but also as an art form. And I think esports in general, if you ask me, for the modern, looking at the grand populace and the modern gamer, the casual gamer, gamers in general, I think it does nothing but bolster gaming in general. Right. And it does nothing but, every now and then you see the hit piece on NBC or CNN or one of these fuckers who don't know what they're talking about, Boomer Central, who just thinks that people waste away their time and they're not social or anything like that. And that fucking pisses me off. Yeah. I mean, it really does. That, the uneducated love to blurt their, spew their hate towards something they don't understand. Yeah. And that's the biggest, you fear what you don't understand. So you get backed into a corner, and boomers love to do that. And I hate being, derogative like that when I say that, but because there are boomers who play games. But point being, the large census of this recently, all you see is, he plays the Grand Theft Auto, or he plays the Fortnite, and now he goes and shoots up a school. No, none of that. No, fuck that. Gaming does, and Ninja gets shit on a lot by people because he's popular now, so people love. But Tyler's been fucking busting his ass for a decade doing streaming and whatnot like that. But there's nobody who's a bigger fucking advocate for gaming right now than that motherfucker. Yeah. He goes on Jimmy Fallon every time, and he says nothing but gaming brings people together. He's like, some of my best friends, I get to socialize with them because of gaming, because they live in fucking Kansas, they live in Idaho, they live in wherever, where gaming is our outlet. Yeah. Fuck, one of our best friends, Kyle, lives in Philadelphia right now, and guess what? He can't come home all the time because he has a full-time job that is his commitment. But gaming brings him together, and it's these esports games that do.
One of my best friends, Mike Collins, I met through Halo 2 online.
Absolutely, and it's a guy who's going to be at my wedding, in your wedding, things like that. That like we built these strong relationships.
Thanks for listening, Mike.
Yeah, Mike's one of our biggest advocates too. Shout out to him, man. But gaming does nothing but bolster positive reinforcements from, and I tweeted about this the other day. I love to tweet about it because it just riles up these boomers and riles up the uneducated about it because they think it's low-hanging fruit, but it's not. Gaming does nothing but stimulate your brain in terms of making it more active. It's not like you're sitting there binging Netflix for 12 hours or whatever like that, where you're just literally soaking in. Nothing wrong with that. Do what you do you, whatever, by all means. And I love a good movie. I love, me, I'm all about narrative. But you're just sitting there soaking it in. Gaming, it requires attentiveness. It requires you to be active and going at all times and interacting with a medium. It's not just soaking in something. You're the one who's controlling the narrative or controlling what happens in the game, both from an esports perspective, whatever. But gaming does nothing but bolster that. It does nothing but bolster social interaction because of esports games, because of all these games that are multiplayer games. And it's just one of the most creative and most ingenious and it's the best interactive, it's the best art medium, if you ask me in general, the most creative because of the interaction it involves. It's not Sarah. And you hear the cringy thing, it's just like, I'm a gamer and I may not live in this world because I live in multiple worlds, or whatever the cringy saying is. But at the same time, like, I'll take somebody maybe, because I've had people come to me saying, yeah, I don't know gaming, but esports sounds fucking cool. Like, they're who are man enough to admit, I don't know, or, big enough person to admit, like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to throw an underhand, I'm not going to punch down, even if you want to say that. Really, if you ask me, they're fucking punching up. Yeah. Like, because look at the fucking prize pools that go out with esports. Yeah, like, look at League of Legends. As toxic as you think that, as everyone thinks it is, because it is toxic. Sorry, that's just to kind of put a bow on my thing.
It's okay. Like, League of Legends, like the pros of League of Legends, when you watch they play a different game. Like, while they're playing League of Legends, the professionals of League of Legends are playing a different game than
they're all bought in.
Even if you're out there and you think you're really good at League of Legends and you're playing in Diamond level, they're playing a different game than you do. They are on a different level, and the pro scene it's different. Like, Diamond games will still go 45 kills to 40 kills. Pro games are like 9 kills to 7 kills. Right. But their farm is so insane. Like, it is a different game. But
plus they're all bought in at that level. Right. You're all competing for prizes. It's a professional scene.
But you're saying, like...
Just to kind of put a bow on it, I'm saying that esports is nothing but bolster gaming. And it is, right now, if you ask me, outside of all the attention that, Fortnite may get with, what's his name, won 3 mil playing, I can't remember the streamer's name off the top of my head, but...
Oh, Booga.
Booga, that's it. He, he
Pennsylvania.
He won 3 mil playing Fortnite, and now that's the big thing that, like, I'll have family members come up to our family, you guys should play that? Well, no, it's because that kid commits his life to, not his life, but that's his profession for all intents and purposes. And there's a video of a kid who finished 12th place in that, pro tournament there, or I can't remember what it was, the pro event,
the battle, whatever they call
it, the World Cup or whatever it was. The kid who won 12th place walked away with $1 million. Yeah. And there's a video of his dad picking him up and hugging him and crying because that motherfucker's set. Yeah. His college is paid for if he wants to go to college.
Unless he pulls a Jack Johnson's parents and just takes it off.
Right. But I'm thinking positively. Yeah. Esports to me right now is the best flag bearer we have outside of streamers, outside of people like Ninja who picks up the flag and runs with it
Yeah.
right now, and capture the flag pun there. But no, it's
Come back to Halo, please.
yeah. But esports right now is the best flag bearer we have, because it's not looking at gaming as just nerds in somebody's mom's basement.
Yeah.
It's breaking that stereotype, and it's breaking that stigma that's around that, and viewing as no. Esports and gaming is legit. Either if you want to look from it from a professional standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from whatever, but also as an art form and as a cultural importance that we have because of its impact on so many people in a positive manner. It's not negative. Yeah, okay. You as a parent, if your kid's sitting there for 12 hours playing a game, that's you as a parent to tell your 10-year-old, yo, let's go outside. Let's go hang out. Let's go do something else that's totally different. But at the same time, maybe they're playing with their cousin who lives in Nebraska. And, that's the only time they get to see that or interact with them. And that's only making them closer by being able to do that. So,
Right.
that, just to put a bow on it, I think you bringing up, the importance of esports and, what it does for gaming in general and how the view is right now. If you ask me right now, it does nothing but positively impact it, because it's showing, it's silencing a lot of doubters and a lot of uneducated people.
Yeah,
So-
I think it's really cool. Here in Pittsburgh, we have a guy who's pretty good on skates. His name's Evgeny Malkin, if you guys don't know who that is. But I always think it's really cool that he is kind of friendly with like the Na'Vi players from Not As
Yeah.
Fair, and they're always commenting on his Instagram posts, and he's always commenting on Na'Vi's posts. Like, he put a picture with Flamey in front of a BMW that was Flamey's. Like, he ran into Flamey. And evidently, Evgeny Malkin's a huge CSGO fan. So, like,
Oh, yeah.
like athletes are now starting to take stake in these things, and it's really cool. But you said about the 10-year-old playing, games. That was me. I was 12 and 13 years old, spending way too much time on Xbox. But once I got to like 14 to 15, I was friends with you guys, but some of my other friends at school started to get into smoking weed and drinking a lot.
Yeah.
And instead of me going and smoking weed and drinking all the time, I just sat at home and played fucking Xbox on a Friday and Saturday night when all my other friends were partying. But
Right.
Travis, I think that's really good input, and I appreciate your comments and your sentiments about esports, because I feel like being so close to it, I love when people speak that way about it, because I've been involved in it for so long. But
Yeah.
Adam, what's your take on the situation?
So, subjectively, that esports and competitive has never been my thing personally.
Yeah, you were never the biggest fan of being competitive about video games,
But
I always have been. Like,
exactly. And I have supported you in your endeavors. And I want to say right now that, like, if there's any perception that esports and the rest of gaming are in contention, or that it's some kind of zero sum, like if you have more of one, you have less of the other, it's really not that.
yeah,
Esports and competitive gaming belongs to and furthers the advancement of gaming as a medium as a whole.
yeah,
And I basically just want to echo everything that Travis says. Like, I don't have a whole lot more to add on to it, except for, even though I don't feel like that sphere of gaming particularly appeals to me, or that I spend most of my time there, I still feel like it's a place that I can go to. I feel like I can pop into...
You're always going to want to... That itch is going to come up, and you're going to scratch it time to time.
Yeah, I might not be, like... I don't watch Worlds, but I'll still play League from time to time.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll still boot up CSGO. I still feel like...
It's
I
still
can-
that comfort food.
Yeah.
It's always there if you want
I still
it.
feel like even if I'm at the bottom rung, I can participate in the culture and enjoy just as a pastime.
Yeah.
Like, even if I'm not out there honing my skill to the level that everyone else is, because their dedication is greater, their incentive and their motivation to be better and to beat others is higher than mine. But
Right.
like, I still really enjoy playing with everyone.
Absolutely. I mean, look at, like we talk about from time to time, including Kyle and whatnot, now that he's in PC gaming and whatnot, playing
Didn't
Overwatch.
Matt order a computer?
Yeah.
I think he
Matt,
did, yeah.
I know Matt listens to the show. Matt, where the hell have you been, man?
What's your Steam name, man?
Yeah, what are we doing here? We got to get him involved.
But anyways, I just want to put to bed any misconceptions that there is contention between competitive gaming and the rest of gaming as a whole. We're
all
one
on
and
the same team.
We're all on the same team. Like,
we may wear a different jersey, sports connect there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're fighting for the same goal.
yeah.
And
The-
there is no fight at the end of the day now. Realistically, like I keep saying, the opinions of the uneducated don't matter.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that in a hostile way, because you're like me. We both, and Mike too, especially on the competitive end, we do nothing but say we want gaming to be accessible. Especially now, looking at Apple Arcade now. That's opening the door for so many. Look at the install base.
Yeah.
The install base is billions of people. You know, I feel pretty safe saying that with iPhone users. So, you know, it's.
I think we just want our kingdom to grow.
Yeah, and I posted a meme the other day just because I do like to, you know, tease the boomer thing because it's funny. Like it is fun, not to make fun of it. We should always, you know, try to lift each other up and not be hostile, be better to each other. But you know,
you have to call out those bad attitudes.
You do have to. You do have to
them.
put people on blast whenever they're at times. But the meme
Yeah.
I put out of, you know, boomers who degrade video games and gamers, and then the picture of the same kid who's saying that with a gun to his own head, saying their 2,300 hours in Candy Crush Saga. So, but it's true. You know, they don't realize that gaming is a part of their lives because, you know, they don't think of that as, you know, mobile games and whatnot. But point being, like, I want nothing but people to play games because I say this all the time. I still fully believe that gaming is one of the best interactive art forms that we have in general because of it being interactive and being able to tell stories and make stories yourself through esports. That these connections that you have with, you know, in multiplayer games, talking on esports, that you can't get anywhere else. Yeah, you could have the water cooler moments with movies and games too, single player experiences by all means. But, you know, that's all it goes really with movies, unless you're writing a movie or whatever. Gaming, you could interact with people. You can get in and you guys could have experiences together, interacting together.
You can match wills and wits.
Like, now, after attending Halo tournaments in Dallas, so my one teammate, SWAT Fanatic Taylor, I've known him since 2009 from Halo 3, and I finally got to meet him because we went to Halo 3 tournaments together. Alex, Royal Blood, I met, you know, through Halo, and now he's, you know, a really good friend of mine. We have a blast when we go to these tournaments together. And our coach, Pico, we met at Dallas randomly. He just randomly went to Dallas, and then now, you know, he was our coach for the last event. And, like, I've met really good people through gaming, so it's just interesting to hear your guys' opinions on esports because you guys are on a different side of it than me.
No, absolutely.
You know, like, if there's a glass partition that separates gaming, even though we're in the same room, but there's like a glass partition that would separate us or a net that would separate us, I'm definitely in the competitive scene much deeper than you guys are.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But it's just interesting to hear what the outside sources or outside opinions are on competitive gaming and esports in general.
No, absolutely. I love having the discussion about that. I'll always be down to talk accessibility with gaming.
Sure.
And, you know, just like I said, well, I feel safe saying we're all flag bearers for this medium because, one, it's something that we all bond together on.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's a glue that helps, you know, a part of the glue of our friendship that definitely plays into it. But, you know, video games are fucking cool, man.
They're amazing.
They're the best. So I think that's going to put a bow on this week's episode. So, Adam, where can people find you?
You can find me on the Birdmans at AC_Marshy. That's twitter.com/AC_MARSHY.
And Mike, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Toy Soldier. The second O is an X. TOYSXLDIER. LL Toy Soldier LL on Xbox Live. And on Twitch at MP_Toy Soldier. And I know I've been saying to you guys that channel's going to go undormant. And it's seriously going to happen. We're going to start streaming again.
Hell yeah, man. As always, though, I'm your host, Travis White, a.k.a. Traveless, on most internet platforms. You can find me on Twitter at Traveless_, TRAVLESS_. You can also find me on Twitch streaming from time to time. Like Mike, I need to start doing that a little bit more. You can find me at twitch.tv/Traveless_, same as Twitter, and on Xbox Live at Traveless, just regular Travis, TRAVLESS. So that's going to be it for this week's show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a part of this growing community. Game on, and we will see you next week.